This time out, Fräulein forehand, Steffi Graf.
Steffi Graf's forehand always stood out as one of the great shots in the history of tennis.
And I named her Fräulein forehand, and her forehand was just huge.
If you didn't have the control to keep the ball away from her forehand, she'd grind you down.
That slice backhand, slice, slice, slice. It was going to make you hit the ball down around your ankle somewhere.
You know, if you talk about somebody who really was single-minded about winning, she epitomized that.
The young Steffi Graf had many assets in her favor. She was fast, she was powerful, and most of all, she was driven. Exceptionally precocious in her early teens, Steffi caught the eye of the tennis world not just as a fine, aspiring professional, but as a future champion of the highest caliber.
There's 4 or 5 players in my 30 years that you just knew was headed for the top. And Steffi Graf, in her mid-teens, you knew there was only one place she was going.
Well, Steffi Graf arrived on the scene in 1985 at the U.S. Open, and there had been some murmuring about this talented German player, but people really didn't know much about her. It's before the internet, before cable TV. Players had spoken highly of her, but it wasn't until she came to New York and played here that people realized this was a future champion.
Right on the line.
You know, in '85, when Graf started to really make her rise, I played her at the U.S. Open, the first ever women's match that went 3 tie-break sets. It was played on the grandstand court, hot, humid, the worst conditions I ever remember at the U.S. Open. And we played for about 3 hours, and I ended up losing 7-6 in the third. You know, it was the first time she got through to a semifinals of a major. You just knew she wasn't going to be satisfied with semifinals.
It was very impressive the way she played the big points and beat Schreiber in a very closely contested match, 3-setter. That impressed people because Pam had a lot of experience and Steffi was able to come through in the tight corners. Then she loses in straight sets to Martina. Most people in her position at that age, you know, as a 16-year-old, 1985, they'd feel like they'd done very well to get to the semis, but she was disgusted. She was really very unhappy about losing that match. You saw it written all over. To lose to the great Navratilova, that wasn't good enough for her. She had the mentality of a champion.
Martina won that 1985 semis, but a year later, a much improved Graf would once again reach the semifinals and once again face the mighty Navratilova.
Rivalry between Martina Navratilova and Steffi Graf was so wonderful for the tennis fan. They had very contrasting styles. Steffi was just such a magician from the backcourt, and Martina, of course, attacking. And in '86, they had, of course, one of the classic matches in the history of the U.S. Open.
The circumstances were perfect for a classic confrontation between the veteran, dominant player of the last 5 years and the great rising young star, Navratilova versus Graf. Graf comes back, takes the second in a tiebreak. They move into the third, and Navratilova is up 4-2 in the third. But Steffi battles back and wins 3 games in a row. So Martina finds herself serving at 4-5 in the third, and twice she is down match point. Good play, good anticipation from Navratilova. She holds on for 5-all. They go on to a tiebreak. And it was a magnificent tiebreak from both of them, where Steffi saved a couple of match points and then got to match point for the third time herself. Martina pressured her into an error on a passing shot and went on to win it 10 points to 8. It was a truly magnificent clash.
You know, you guys were saying it was going to be close, but this was ridiculous. I feel very, very lucky that I got through this one.
In 1988, Graf rose right to the top. She won the year's first 3 majors, including a victory over Navratilova in the final of Wimbledon, snapping Martina's 6-year hold on that title. The 19-year-old Graf arrived in New York poised to become only the 3rd woman in tennis history to earn a calendar year sweep of all 4 majors.
Well, Steffi Graf finally playing for the U.S. Open title she hasn't won. She plays Sabatini, and it's a tight match.
So they split the first 2 sets, and then before you knew it, Sabatini was up 4-1 second set with a chance, break point to go up 5-1. Nearly broke the set wide open. Graf came back, closed the gap to 4-3, but lost it 6-3. Nevertheless, the fact that she'd fought back to make the second set competitive, I think really helped her, because she bowled it to a 3-love lead in the 3rd set.
She was getting to balls that Sabatini was lunging for, and it's demoralizing to see your opponent moving so well, playing so well when you're so tired. Steffi won, I think, at one point, 15 of 17 points, and really her fitness, mentally but also physically, pulled her through that 3rd set.
It was the perfect way for Steffi to end her Grand Slam season. She became the first woman since Margaret Court in 1970 to win the Grand Slam by finishing off Sabatini, and she showed a lot of coolness that day. I mean, you didn't sense that she was preoccupied with the achievement, that she was looking at this as one match, as a U.S. Open final, rather than saying, if I win this match, I'm going to win the Grand Slam, and I'm only going to become the 3rd woman in history to do so. So I thought she showed great poise.
My favorite memory of Steffi Graf, probably for a lot of people, was the '88 U.S. Open, which of course completed her Grand Slam.
On behalf of the United States Tennis Association and everyone here in this stadium, we present you with the championship trophy and crown you Grand Slam winner.
Don Budge and Steffi Graf.
The strongest memory I have is of Don Budge, who was at the trophy presentation, and Don Budge, of course, had won the Grand Slam 50 years before, so it was his golden anniversary. And I remember Steffi saying later that when he presented her the trophy, he whispered in her ear, "I knew it all the time." And she said that gave her such a sense of history and accomplishment.
When we talk about winning the Grand Slam, will Roger Federer do it? What are the Serena Williams chances? And remember, Steffi in 1988, still a teenager, not only wins the Grand Slam, all 4 majors, but wins an Olympic gold medal after that. Hard to see anyone surpassing that for a season.